Today, in Europe, and your student do the research, there is no country that has a land that is not nationalized by countries in Europe. It's all nationalized. If you want to utilize the land in Europe, you apply and get something that you are given to use the land for a period. They call it leasing. You lease the land. Can't buy it. Can't buy land in Europe. And people from Europe say to us, we must not nationalize, they must buy our land. They don't do it in Europe. I'm saying this because to you as young people, this debate must be more raging, because the reason why we, the blacks in particular, the Africans, are the ones who are poverty stricken, are the ones who live in informal settlements. The basis of that was the land that was taken from us. That made us overnight to be a poverty-stricken nation. And we have got to argue for the land properly.
Put it quite frankly, if anybody thinks in South Africa that you can take the land without compensation, you're living in a dream. Let me put it quite frankly to you. If you want to start a civil war in South Africa, do that. Do that. And I told you before. I told you before.
You have a degree. You've got masters. Go and check the qualifications of your white boss. He has got no single qualification. Yet that Afrikaner, that time you've got a degree, that Afrikaner just walks like he's owning the earth. This wealth belongs to him. When you check, why is he being arrogant like this? He's a farmer. When they say he's a farmer, they mean he owns the land. That's what land does. Whites undermine us because we don't have the land. But you are working for them, you are worshipping them, even when they've got nothing better than you, mentally and intellectually. Why? It's property. We walk with our shoulders down, sometimes with our hands at the back, and we walk in an apologetic manner. Why? We don't have property. We're scared, and we know we're not respected because we don't have property. So when we fight for the land, you must know we're fighting for the restoration of the dignity of African people.
ANC does not believe in socialism. We are a broad national movement which combines various threads of political thought, ranging from the far right to the extreme left, embracing liberal and conservative views. And if you study our basic policy document, the Freedom Charter, you will find that it is based on free enterprise. And the land, for example, there is no nationalization of the land. And the land is subject to individual ownership. And in actual fact, when the Freedom Charter is applied, when the provisions of the Freedom Charter are applied, capitalism amongst Africans will flourish as never before. I wrote an article in 1956 to this effect, to say private enterprise, when a democratic system is introduced, will flourish in this country as never before. And the only exception is a clause which calls for the nationalization of the mines, the financial institutions, and monopolies. That is done because of the conditions in the country It's a clause which was actually adopted in the constitution of the present ruling National Party before. So there is nothing unique in that. There is no element of socialism in the policy of the ANC, whatever may happen in the future.
It hurts to see our tribal authority, our chiefs, Magoshi, being fed by our government in the democratic state, in the democratic era. Their work is to look at the culture, etc. But they are being fed by the government.
Why is that a problem?
There is a problem. They must know who they are. The Constitution talks about institutions, like the Mahoshis. They should have their space. And they should know they are there for culture, for language, for everything. They were talking about that piece of legislation. We had participated, being in the remote areas, coming down to participate in the high-level panel of Mr. Mutante. Our recommendations were there. But in Parliament, they are not considered. Two, there was the PAP, the Presidential Advisory Panel. They had colloquiums or what have you. We were there to give recommendations and to tell them what is happening, how do we feel,
and they were not
what we
implemented.
need. So we don't see anything moving. I'm crying. I'm pointing my finger at my hand, not the finger, at the Department of Justice. At the last colloquium, they were there. And we told them, please, this is what the people need. But we don't see any justice being done.
Okay.
So the other issue is...
Yeah. Very briefly, ma'am.
Yes. I would like to know, when do our parliamentarians are going on pension? Because they are there doing the traditional dance. You know, the nakadi, the kanibalizi. Akuna stulo sabubedi mo. Re how champa mo otsena mo le how champa mo le otsena mo. There's nobody auto senang. Basoba naki babadile. Babadile ba ile dikolo. Nna ke sabala. Ke bala grade 25. So re nyaka bona ba tsena mole. E seng ba go lwana. Ba go bulela ba re ba fe ditaba tsa rena. That's why when it comes to all this, even about land reform, oh Mudimwaka, you know, we were promised with excitement when Metitisa said in 1994, we will have to dispose 30% of land under restitution. Now the goalposts are shifting. When the year comes, the other year now, 3 to 5 years now, how much land has been given under restitution?
There's been very slow land reform.
Foreign investment. No, you must give me chance to speak unless you want to have this interview with yourself. Then we can give you a chance to speak alone. Okay. Because you're asking me questions, I'm responding to them, and that's the whole intention of this conversation. So we are going to ensure that we take control of our own economy. We're going to ensure that we take control of our own land, and those who want to invest in our country, they're going to do so through our own terms. Their businesses will be safe for as long as they will help to grow the economy of South Africa. If they want a piece of land, they will get that piece of land, but they will not own it. They will lease that piece of land for whatever years they so require to lease the piece of land, as long as that is aiming at creating jobs and growing the South African economy. And there will be a stable government. Their investment will be 100% protected. And there is no blood in South Africa. There is no civil war in South Africa. It's just a change of political system.
Section 25 of the Constitution is very, very clear. It basically says there will no land will be expropriated from anybody except through an act of general application, and there must be payment of compensation. Now,
that's the current constitution.
Yes, here it is, and there must be. It goes on to spell it out how you pay compensation, and so that you look at the history of the land, its use now, how was it acquired, and the value of the land, and so on. I'm going to identify at least 3 categories of property to you now, which are lying there, which can be the subject of expropriation without compensation immediately. If a person is committing a crime in South Africa, for example, I have guns, lots of them, I'm a hunter, right, if I take any of my guns and shoot and kill you, the gun will be confiscated immediately, pending the duration of the trial. Upon being convicted, I will forfeit that gun to the state. I will never get it again. Why is that not done in respect of
The land.
Section 300 of the Criminal Procedure Act provides that any property which is the proceed of crime may be forfeited. We have endless beatings of fellow African people on these farms. Some are killed, others are buried in shallow graves. There is not a single farm which has ever been confiscated. That falls squarely within the Constitution. It will be confiscated in the interest of the public. There is no need for compensation because you have committed a crime.
Right.
Doesn't happen? Don't ask me why. I'm not a prosecutor. Prosecutors, remember, are towing the line by and large.
That's what Batwe said.
If anybody thinks in South Africa that you can take the land without compensation, you're living in a dream. Let me put it quite frankly to you. If you want to start a civil war in South Africa, do that. Do that. And I told you before, I told you before, that don't misjudge.
It's decidedly
What are you raising, honorable member?
on a point of order.
On which rule, honorable member?
The rule that establishes point of order, you know what is the rule. But the point of order is, he can't stand there and threaten civil war for a radical program of land occupation. It's not parliamentary to threaten civil war. If you want civil war, Chief, don't threaten it there.
Thank you. I think, honorable
You must never threaten civil war. You know nothing about war.
Honorable
and
member,
must
thank you.
never,
Your
ever
point has
threaten
been
war
made. Thank
in this
you.
particular parliament.
Suddenly you've got, the very popular thing. I think even my comrade president here referred to about land. There's established ANC policy, which is in the Freedom Charter. If you come to me to say, now let's still do something about the land, I'd say, bear in mind what we've said in that Freedom Charter for many decades. The land shall be shared among those who work it. That is a very well thought out position, strategic position with regard to solving a number of issues here. The national question, the land question, how do we handle it? No, somebody pops up. No. Let's take the land and give it to our people. So I say, I belong to the ANC. Who, according to the ANC in South Africa, is not our people? There's nobody who's got our people. That's ANC policy. Somebody else's policy might be very different. But that's why the ANC says this land shall be shared among those who work it. Black and white and whoever they are.
President, if you are going to take the land, are you going to give it to Basotho, or are you going to give to which section of the population? Are you going to take the properties of the great-grandchildren of the Indian indentured laborers who came here? Whose properties are you going to take? Are you going to take the properties of the French Huguenots and German refugees who came here running away from religious wars in Europe?
Point of order.
Whose properties are you going to take?
What's your point of order?
Is it going to be the properties of the great-grandchildren of the slaves that came from Malay Peninsula and from the Philippines Islands? Whose properties are you going to take?
Please take your seat.
Please, you must let us know. If you are going to give this land, you said something, you are going to give the land to our people. Now please tell us, who is not our people in this country?
Point of order.
Who is our people? I must ask the question. Who is our people? Who is not our people? The National Party used to say, others are Europeans, others are non-Europeans. No, who is our people? Who is non our people? I want to know that. President, in that case,
Are you going to amend the Bill of
President,
Rights?
honorable member.
Are you going to amend the Bill of Rights, Comrade President, so that South Africa must know that this
honorable
constitution
members,
is no
order.
longer relevant under your leadership?
No.
Are you going to take the Bill of Rights? Are you going to take our rights under the Bill of Rights?
Deputy Speaker.
We really need to know that reply.
Deputy Speaker.
And we cannot not ask that question today.
Deputy Speaker.
We ask it and we want to know who is our people,
Honorable member.
who is not our people. Who is,
Deputy
I'm
Speaker.
not one of you. Well,
What are you raising on,
it's a
honorable
matter,
member?
it's a matter
Speaker.
that the
Honorable Matthias,
president will answer.
Honorable Lekota.
Who is not our people? Who
Deputy
is our
Speaker.
people? This constitution says all of
Order,
us are
honorable
South
members.
Africans. And all of
Honorable
us
Lekota.
have got the same rights. So, leave the howlers aside.
Deputy Speaker.
Honorable
Who
Lekota,
are you
please
going
take
to
your
give
seat.
the land to?
Honorable
You take it
Lekota.
from whom, and to whom are you going to give it? We want to answer.
Take your seat. What are you raising, honorable members? Comrade Terra, when you went to prison, Robben Island, you were a black consciousness. And when you came back, you became a historical mistake, which came out of Robben Island. It is extremely disappointing every time you open your mouth to speak here, that which you thought you represent, you have abandoned. You can't ask the question, who are your people? Because the National Democratic Revolution answers that question. It says the motive forces that stands to benefit from the victories of this revolution, those are our people. Who are the motive forces of the National Democratic Revolution which you went to prison for? The motive forces of the National Democratic Revolution are the oppressed. Who are the oppressed? The blacks in general and Africans in particular. But consciousness, when it escapes you, it doesn't say goodbye. You are such a typical example of a person who has just lost his political consciousness. Because these teachings they should have taught you in Robben Island. But clearly, that University of Life has dismally failed when it came to you. So it is actually extremely wrong of you to stand here and want to distort a history. All we are saying is that, as the EFF, let us subject the whole thing to consultation. We don't have a problem. We cannot come and meet here as a group of elite and take a decision on behalf of our people. Let it be referred to committees. Let our people be consulted. Let ordinary South Africans make input. We are not opposed to that. As long as this parliament agrees that indeed we are at one, but let us go and take a further mandate.
House Chair, the Economic Freedom Fighters reject the budget vote 29 on agriculture, land reform and rural development. The land reform program in this country has been a catastrophic failure from inception. This failure is a result of both the constitutional conception of land, which is failure to resolve the question of to whom does the land really belongs to, and it is also a result of blatant government incompetence and zero willingness to resolve the land crisis in this country. There is no budget that will ever resolve these problems because the problem is at the level of design. This problem, Minister Nyonso, will not be resolved by unsubstantiated rhetoric. They require at the core of firm grounding of who we are as people. Of the foremost theories of your movement, Peter Ngeze Raboroko, in criticizing the people you are now working with, argued to them, master and slave, the exploiter and the exploited, the oppressor and the oppressed, the degrader and the degraded are all equal. To them, indigenous African nationalists and immigrant European foreign nationalists, the dispossessed and the dispossessors, the victims and the robbers are all countrymen. For them, the progressive and the reactionaries, the African subject and his foreign overlord, the African nationalist and the colonists of white supremacists, the liberationists and the collaborationists are all brothers. At the level of the Constitution, there is simply no recognition of the fact of the conquest, and that this created a permanent line between the invader and the native. It is because of this that the Constitution requires payment for taking land back from the dispossessed to give to the dispossessed. And it is because of this that the Constitution does not recognize any acts of conquest before 1913. The land question cannot be resolved without addressing the constitutional design defect. At this level of basic competency of the state, for the past 30 years, just over 10% of the land has been returned back to the people. The 7 Lamosa reports submitted by the Land Claims Commission to the Land Claims Court indicates that the state has paid in excess 50 billion for land restitution alone, and that half of that money went toward compensating white farmers. According to the report, the state needs a further 30 years and over 68 billion to settle the more than 6,000 land claims submitted by 1998. There are still over 100,000 claims land lying dormant that were submitted as a result of the Restitution of Land Amendment Act that later declared unconstitutional. There is no budget for all of these claims, and there was never a stage where land reform got more than 2% of the budget since 1994. Simply put, all these land claims are just administrative burden that will never be resolved for as long as we have this constitutional defect, and as a state that prioritizes pleasing the settlers.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Jones. Why not TV? Please subscribe. Bye for now till we meet again next time. Subscribe, please. Don't forget to like and to comment. Thank you very much. Dr. Jones, Why not TV? Mutsonga wa Shiviri from Limpopo. Goodbye till we meet again next time. Subscribe.